Good morning, everyone. God bless you, and thank you for being at our service today. Today, Vajela comes, the Elohim of the fifth crystal ray, relating to the thymus, ether, and somehow the word glaze. As in this prayer we have to the five Elohim, for that portion of the prayer, we use the word glaze. And I love this term because for glaze, we think of kind of the final embellishment when we're cooking or baking and finishing what we've created. So the glaze represents this crystalline, beautiful, liquid, light substance that we put around something to embellish it and to finalize it and perfect it. In preparing for this heart stream, Vajela asked that I go to Wikipedia and look at the term thymus. I'm going to read just a little bit to you about the thymus, which is a very important organ in our body. The thymus is a specialized primary lymphoid organ of the immune system. Within the thymus, T cells, or T lymphocytes, mature. T cells are critical to the adaptive immune system, where the body adapts specifically to foreign invaders. The thymus is composed of two identical lobes and is located anatomically in the anterior superior mediastinum, in front of the heart and behind the sternum. Histologically, each lobe of the thymus can be divided into a central medulla and a peripheral cortex, which is surrounded by an outer capsule. The cortex and medulla play different roles in the development of T cells. Cells in the thymus can be divided into thymic stromal cells and cells of hematopoietic origin derived from the bone marrow, resident hematopoietic stem cells. Developing T cells are referred to as thymocytes and are of hematopoietic origin. Stromal cells include epithelial cells of the thymic cortex and the medulla, and dendritic cells. The thymus provides an inductive environment for development of T cells from hematopoietic progenitor cells. In addition, thymic stromal cells allow for the selection of a functional and self-tolerant T cell repertoire. Therefore, one of the most important roles of the thymus is the induction of central tolerance. The thymus is largest and most active during the neonatal and pre-adolescent periods. By the early teens, the thymus begins to atrophy and thymic stroma is mostly replaced by adipose or fat tissue. Nevertheless, residual T lymphopoiesis continues throughout adult life. Now this organ relates to the fifth crystal ray, which is right there near the heart. And I believe that when Jesus was pierced by the lance, that it actually punctured the thymus right before the heart and released the blood there, and also some of this crystalline energy from that relates to the fifth crystal ray. The thymus is a very important organ, and I know someone who was treated for cancer, and some of the dendritic cells were extracted, and then there is a process of, I believe, multiplying them, introducing them back into the body, and this helped to fight the cancer cells. So these T cells and dendritic cells are very important for harmony and balance in the body and well-being in the body. And I don't know that current science fully understands all of what takes place within the thymus. And I think that we will learn more and more about this Anthony William, in his book Thyroid Health, speaks of the thyroid, and that too is a very important organ. The thymus is a little bit more mystical and does relate to the fifth crystal ray, and so we can observe all of the health processes within us through meditation. What I'm seeing through the lens of the heart and the mind of the Elohim of the fifth crystal ray is that deep pranic breathing does help the vitality of all of the cells within our body, the red blood cells as well as the white blood cells. And actually, the deeper we go in pranic breathing, the more healthy and vital those important T cells and white blood cells become for the sustaining of the balance within the endocrine system, throughout our body, and that which fights off disease, the bad guys that do enter our body, and bacteria and viruses, etc. So the pranic breathing, and prana is akin to ether, is so important to maintain this harmonic balance within our body so that we have that strength and vitality, that extra oomph to deal with all of the toxins in the environment and potentially any bacteria and viruses that we encounter. So a healthy thyroid and a healthy thymus are imperative to long-term health and well-being, longevity, and the health that we require to be kind of in this various state of very young presence where nothing interposes itself within our aura or within our four lower bodies that could be detrimental to the integrity of our entire system, all of our organs functioning, what the Elohim of the five crystal ray would term the health and well-being and the functioning of our aura itself. The aura is very changeable, very amorphous, yet it signifies our greater spiritual health and well-being, our mental health, our emotional health, our memory health, which is kind of relating also to the fire body, and our spiritual health and integrity. And when the aura is invaded by dark forces, or we allow that to happen through lack of focus, lack of following the laws of nature, then these invaders coming within the aura can present themselves and then attack. What do they attack? They attack our higher consciousness. They dull us down so that we don't feel the integrity of our true self and our oneness with God. So pranic breathing and silence and meditation are very essential to maintaining this harmonic balance. And you see the fifth crystal ray presenting itself through this area right in front of the heart. And once we've incorporated the other crystal rays through the feet and the hands, this central point of being right there at the heart chakra is important for the blazing of the light through the aperture of all of our centers, all of our chakras. So this thymus chakra, we will call it the thymus chakra or the fifth crystal ray chakra, is so important to maintaining that harmony right there in front of the heart chakra, the beautiful blazing heart chakra, to kind of seal the action of both the 7 major rays and the 5 crystal rays. And so the thymus works in harmony with the heart, being so close to it. And what I'm seeing from Vajjala is that there is a spiritual connection that's very deep and very important to maintain this harmonic between the 7 and the 5 and the action of the glands within the system with the organs, all of the organs in the body, the major organs that allow for the functioning of our life. So all of the major glands, the pineal, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, the thymus, the thyroid, the adrenals, and those that work closer to the pancreas, etc. All of these are essential for the maintenance of the subtle body that we all have, our etheric body, which is our subtle body. So when we do spiritual work, we increase the vibrancy of our subtle bodies. And beyond the etheric, we have, of course, the higher bodies of the Buddhic, the Atmic, the Cosmic, the Christic. And these higher subtle bodies are fed through the physical body, through the 5 crystal rays, and especially through the thymus being so close to the heart. They are fed from the physical plane, just as our physical body is also fed from the higher etheric planes of these higher bodies. When Jesus said that we don't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, well, we know that the mouth of God, according to the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda and the Masters of the East, is the medulla oblongata, the mouth of God. And so there's also this feeding into us and through us, through our crystal cord, through the medulla oblongata, and then into the heart area, both with the heart and the thymus, of this higher energy of crystalline light from these higher subtle bodies. The more we master stillness through meditation, the more we access these subtle bodies through the finer work that we do on behalf of life, through our oneness with God, through our attunement with our presence, through our harmony with cosmic law, and all of the higher worlds that vibrate around us and actually even through us, through the pulsation of these higher worlds that are actually affecting our subtle bodies and our physical body, the more we can do on behalf of God to serve and to bless and to charge the earth with these higher frequencies. So understanding the nature of our 4 lower bodies and the intelligence that God implanted within this beautiful temple of light that we have, where every organ and every system works codependently, interdependently, but codependently with each other to form one integrated being, us, the more we can participate with God in the alchemy of life itself, bringing forth our gifts, our talents, to increase the cosmos, to really intelligently and very consciously embed within the creation that which God is bringing forth to our higher mind through our subtle bodies. So being in constant communication with our God self through the intelligence that God embedded within our higher mind is an imperative for disciples of the living Word. So when Jesus said that we are in effect fed by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, these words, as engrams of light, actually are divine food. They are our holy ambrosia. They are our prasad, which has been blessed by the Guru, God, which we take in, we assimilate. They go deep within us, and in the feeding of our subtle bodies, there is an energization of the crystal rays through us and throughout our being, so that we can participate with all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the work of planetary salvation, of the ennoblement of every soul, the blessing of every being, and the fixing within the earth of these subtle light engrams and frequencies. So part of our job as this beautiful being of light that is symbolized by this 5-pointed star man or woman that Da Vinci drew in this one figure that we can use when we visualize and meditate upon the 5 crystal rays and how they are working through us, is so important. So using this visualization, we can see ourselves in the mode of actually anchoring the light of the 5 Elohim of the crystal rays, the 5 archangels and archai of the 5 crystal rays, the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, who are kind of like the Chohans of the 5 rays, because they fix those frequencies and energies. We work with all of them to incorporate within our world these Buddhic, fivefold frequencies, which are ever changing and interpenetrating time and space, and even beyond the space-time continuum. Our connection with all the subtle worlds happens from right here. It doesn't happen through the brain, although the higher mind also is in communion through the heart with the higher mindfulness of God. Our connection with all of the higher worlds happens here through the mystic impulses that manifest in the great silence within us. So there is the great silence that exists everywhere, subtly, in all dimension, in all planes of beings, and there is the great silence that is within us, that is that point of stillness within us, where it is a flame, it is an eternal flame that is actually God's essence, vibrating and pulsing within us. The essence of God that is within us is sacred. It is beautiful. It is divine. And through that essence, we can experience the entire cosmic warp and woof of creation in its harmony. And we can experience the music of the spheres, which is the harmony of the entire creation. Where do we experience that? Right here. And it's interesting that the thymus, being right in front of the heart, is almost kind of like a little guardian of the heart, which is so sensitive. The heart chakra is so sensitive to every vibration, to everything. And so this thymus, which produces these T cells, is like the guardian. It's like the warrior of cosmic spirit to very subtly and beautifully and yet very powerfully protect this sacred chakra that we have of our heart, that also in a kind of dimensionless state deep within the secret chamber thereof has that threefold flame vibrating. Now, I was asking the masters if the secret chamber of the heart actually was in the thymus or the heart, and it is within the heart. And so, remember recently I shared that there are 5 chambers of the heart. We have the 4 major ones that we know of through biology and anatomy, yet the 5th chamber is the secret chamber. That is subtle. Physical science will not find it. It is a subtle, kind of etheric chamber where the flame of God within us exists. So now we have this understanding of the thymus, which we haven't really focused upon, and yet which is so important for our subtle life, for our higher health and well-being, which is our spiritual health and well-being. And those who, I'm seeing right now from Vijala that when we take in certain drugs, all kinds of drugs that the pharmaceuticals are producing and creating, many of these drugs, unbeknownst to current science, actually impact our subtle bodies by affecting our glands in a very traumatic way. And they do not know what they are doing. Father, forgive them. They do not know what they're doing, at least outwardly. Yet the dark ones who work at the worst levels of the astral plane know exactly what they're doing to dumb us down through all of these drugs that they have created, which actually very gradually kill off the spiritual cells within these sacred organs of our bodies, which are the glands. Because all of the glands relate to the chakras. They are very concentrated, focuses or foci of light, and they have a concentration of certain very powerful cells, conglomerates of these cells that are super intelligent. They have what Vigela says super consciousness. These cells have God consciousness or super consciousness, and they have this divine intelligence embedded within them to regulate all of the systems within the body, what's occurring both within the body temporal and the body, I was going to say universal, but the body everlasting. The body temporal, which is our physical body, and the body everlasting, which is really our soul, and it becomes everlasting when it's wed to spirit in the ascension. So let us choose to have higher health by taking care of our glands. When I hear of these physicians and surgeons removing various glands, this can be very detrimental to the long-term perfect health and vitality of our body and our subtle bodies. So do everything you can, health-wise, to not give away a portion of your body through surgery where they take cells out of your body that are meant to be there and function properly. Now, if we've abused our bodies or we've had situations occur where our cells have been compromised and our organs have been compromised, we have to do everything possible to get back to perfect health so we can maintain those organs and those glands rather than having them removed from our body, because then our body doesn't have the intelligence of that super consciousness within the cells of these important glands and organs to then fight off other diseases. So if science were really intelligent, the way the Ascended Masters are, and the surgeons of light in the higher worlds, Hilarion and all these cosmic scientists and those who know complete health from all levels, then it would not so easily and so unguardedly just recommend to us that we have this gland or that gland removed. How many people have had, this gland in the neck removed because they had a terrible situation in childhood where they had bad sore throat, which then the gland there has been removed. So other glands have been removed. I know someone who's going through a major health challenge right now, and they've recommended they remove her gallbladder. And she said, no, I want to keep my gallbladder, and she's making the right decision. It can be inflamed, it can be diseased, yet there are ways to eat the right food and to do pranic breathing and other things that can save that gland, that gallbladder, so it can perform its function. So we have to be very, very careful that we don't just listen to those who are ignorant of the higher spiritual truths. Now, I'm not saying there should never be any surgeries. I'm just saying be very reticent to do it and do your due diligence, get a second and sometimes a third opinion, and go the natural route, if at all possible, to use the powers of divine intelligence within foods that are very healing, that can, almost in the twinkling of an eye, if we change our diet and change our habit patterns, help our bodies be integrated whole, and so we have everything within us that we were meant to have. So with this understanding, Vigela would like to ray forth now to all of us the power and the intelligence, the wisdom, the virya, and the ruby light of this subtle cosmic frequency that emanates through the thymus to strengthen our thymus. We heard about the gradual atrophy of the thymus. So what the invocation of the 5 crystal rays can do is to reverse that atrophication. of the thymus and other organs, the pineal. We've heard that the pineal atrophies. So through the 5 crystal rays, the invocation thereof, our beautiful singing of our spiritual songs, meditation, entering into silence, being in nature with our gardening and hiking and swimming and doing exercise, all of this helps to strengthen through the action of the ruby ray and the 5 crystal rays of these subtle centers. So the action of glazing today is to surround, bless, charge, and seal. This action of glazing is like the sealing of all of these subtle centers within you in this crystalline light, so that each of these organs and glands and subtle centers can function optimally at their highest level. Make sure, Vigela says, to drink plenty of pure, unadulterated water, preferably spring water or water that's been properly, very well filtered. And in my study of water, from what I have understood through Mona's study, also, reverse osmosis is not always the best thing to use. If you can have pure spring water, this is better than reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is okay in certain situations where you don't have any other alternative, but it does remove some of the subtle things in good water, even bad water, that we require. So if you're going to use reverse osmosis water, make sure you have the cell salts and charge that water with crystalline light. And what you can do is put your right hand over your water and the left under. And if you do have reverse osmosis, make sure you're recharging that water with the subtle cell salts and energy that it requires to be living water, because the reverse osmosis kind of takes out some of the living elements of it, unbeknownst to people. This is kind of a different teaching here. So cell salts are important. I remember Daniel Brinkley telling some of us that in addition to having ASEA, which Mona and I drink every day, it's recommended 2 ounces twice a day. He said, remember the cell salts, because this is also very important for our health and well-being. And he's right. These cell salts actually have in the salts the crystallization of these very important substances that are precipitated into salt from like the ocean or whatever, the water, that are important for the harmonic balance of our life. So do your research on cell salts, take them if you can, with your pure water, and live harmonically. So this action is complete now. We have the glazing of all of our subtle centers with the blessing of Vigela. I'm so grateful for this teaching, and I think that all of us can study the thymus a little bit more and meditate on it, meditate on our heart chakra, the 5th crystal ray, and receive through our own intuition even more understanding through our attunement with our God presence and our higher self. So God bless you. Thank you, Arnie, and all the Canadians for being there and supporting your nation today. Thank you, Marion, and all of our heart friends in Canada. We love you. We support you. And next time, maybe we can have a little bit of sharing from you about what's going on in your areas. Take care. Bye-bye.